Hello and welcome to Agree to Disagree Sports Podcast. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And by we, I mean me. Unfortunately, no Chris, no Bones this episode, but it will just be me. And it might be looking that way from now on. You know, obviously, us three, we're young, sterling, just bright men who just love to just get things done. And the podcast, unfortunately, has had to kind of take a backseat for a little while there. Obviously, us three all being hockey players, all being in the heat of the school year, these things happen. And, we apologize, what I'm saying. I love making this podcast. I love, talking about sports, especially my friends, but, into a broader audience. It's just, I find it very awesome. And I'm glad to finally be back to talk a little bit of football. We'll talk a little bit of soccer too, because that's obviously, with the Ballon d'Or and the Champions League heating up. Talk a little bit of that. Maybe a little bit of basketball. I guess we'll talk about the James Harden trade. Maybe Wembanyama. Some of the other rookies. Asari Thompson's really been put on a show lately for the Pistons. So, we'll get into it. And, let's have a good episode and start out with a little bit of football. And which I think the bulk of this episode will be about, which would be the MVP race. The MVP race, to me, I feel like there has been no clear-cut winner. And we are 10, well, not 10, we're 9 weeks into the season, and we have no clear-cut favorite. Last year, Mahomes, and then the years before that, Aaron Rodgers. I felt like this is the first year that I don't know. In recent years, obviously, that there's been no clear-cut favorite, and there's been a lot of other players, jumping into the mix. We have rogue shouts of Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, even T.J. Watt, Micah Parsons to A.J. Brown. And here's the thing. A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, these aren't rogue players when we should talk about the MVP race. These players are having historic seasons. They are having a whole season through 9 weeks, through half the season, which is, a ridiculous feat. And I was just wondering if maybe these receivers, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, maybe these players make a case for their quarterbacks. Does Tyreek Hill make a better case for Tua Tagovailoa, and does A.J. Brown make a better case for Jalen Hurts? Because as we've seen in recent years, well, not recent years, pretty much for all time, is that the MVP it's a quarterback's award, and it will continue to be that way for God knows how long. But I really think that we should have serious talks about A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill for MVP. Even Christian McCaffrey, too. Even though the Niners have been on a bit of a skid recently, I'm sure they'll find form here very soon. And they'll get back to winning ways. And obviously McCaffrey is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the best player on that team. Obviously you have Trent Williams, you have Bosa, Kittle he's Kittle. And, you have so many other great players. And them just adding Chase Young, obviously adding some more talent, not saying he'll be a top caliber player on that team. But Chase Young, to get a little bit off topic, he's had a really good start of the season. I think 5.5 sacks through these couple games, and unfortunately, just hadn't been able to stay healthy in Washington, and hadn't looked his best like he did in college, and he wasn't what the Buckeyes were advertising, and Washington had to move on. But I'm really glad that he got a change of scenery. So, good for him. Wearing number 92 looks cool. I'm sure he'll be monstrous, and it'll be a nightmare for quarterbacks. So back to the MVP race though. Looking at the betting odds, which you guys know, that we over here at Agree to Disagree, we like to look at some betting odds. So we have a 3-way tie from Lamar, Jalen Hurts, and Patrick Mahomes. So obviously all these teams have very good records. The Eagles being 8-1, the Ravens being 7-2, and I think the Chiefs also being 7-2. I could be wrong though. I think the Chiefs are 7-2. I might be bugging. Let me just fact check myself before I blab even more. Chiefs 7-2, yeah, okay. So obviously all three of these teams have really good records. Stat wise, you have Patrick Mahomes, I think, as the third best third in passing yards. Jalen Hurts is fifth. Lamar, I don't know if he's anywhere near there, but I'm sure that the rushing yards, I'm sure the stats are sort of close. As obviously we have third passing yards Mahomes, fifth is Jalen Hurts, and if I want to look at the list here, I'm sure Lamar's not far behind. Yeah, he's not very far behind. He's at 2,000 yards. So, stat-wise, is there a clear-cut favorite? No, not really at all. I think Mahomes has been dealing a lot of interceptions. He's been throwing them shits like it's candy. Hurts, he looked good against the Cowboys, and did that even propel him to be my MVP favorite? No. Because obviously the Ravens shellacked the Seahawks last week. The Chiefs, they brought it to, who do they even fucking play? Why do I forget who the Chiefs play every week? They didn't even play anybody good either. They play the Dolphins in Germany. They beat another MVP favorite, Tua. So does that help Mahomes' case? And he played decent. I think he had 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, regardless. So there's a lot of points you can make for each player, and there's no clear-cut favorite in my opinion. And trying to find one right now might be damn near impossible. I could sit here for God knows how long and go over each little fucking detail about how Lamar and Mahomes and Hurts and other guys all deserve MVP, but that would be a waste of your time and mine, frequently. But regardless, I think this is one of the most controversial MVP races. Well, not controversial, but tight, jam-packed, and I'm excited to just watch it unfold, I guess. I feel like some dark horse, and here's the thing with a dark horse, I guess, not even a dark horse. Joe Burrow obviously just took it to the Bills, and his odds are now boosted up, and he's now the 5th favorite at plus 700, and behind him is McCaffrey, and then you have Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence at the same at plus 2,000. Trevor Lawrence is an interesting candidate for me because, obviously the Jags are hot. I think 5 straight wins for them, and Lawrence has always been a big part of that. And I don't know. Can you really put Trevor Lawrence up there with Hurts and Lamar and Patrick Mahomes? Even Christian McCaffrey, even Tua? I don't know. I don't know. I wish... I want to say yes, because I really think that Trevor Lawrence has what it takes to be an MVP. I think he's MVP caliber. And obviously the Jags are 6-2 now. So, the record, it all varies. I feel like at this fucking point, it's honestly just all fucking personal preference. So, you have that. Even with last week, I get week 9, CJ Stroud obviously put on a absolute masterclass, 470 yards and 5 touchdowns as a rookie, beating the Buccaneers, and which was honestly that was definitely, I think, the most exciting game of week 9 in my opinion. And so that was a good one. But yeah, CJ Stroud, people are saying that he should be in the conversation, but the Texans are only, I think, 4-4, and CJ Stroud has the stats to back it up, and I think I saw that he has the best touchdown ratio for a rookie besides Tom Brady, which is 14-1. I think I saw on Instagram earlier today. So, the kid's putting up historic feats, and but I don't think you should put him in the MVP conversation yet. I feel like recency. It's not like he's bad. It's not like I'm not saying he's a slouch, but I feel like propelling him into the conversation right now is kind of absurd. His CJ Stroud's odds, I'm looking here now. Unless I'm just blind, they're at plus 10,000. So they have Dak, Jared Goff, and AJ Brown ahead of them. Just to, name some names. Yeah, CJ Stroud. Don't think he should be a candidate for me. And I'm really excited for him, to be honest with you. I really think he should have been the first pick. Just kind of get off topic here. I really think he should have been the first pick coming out of the draft. I think Bryce Young, isn't the right fit for Carolina because I think that team is just so bad that I don't even know. Maybe the Panthers should have traded down. I mean, even though I think didn't they trade with the Bears to regardless, like. Yeah, that team is really, really awful. Brian Burns, free that guy. Honestly, free Brian Burns. Like they just have no talent on offense besides Thielen, who's 33 and still I think a top 10 receiver in my opinion, maybe this year. But yeah, Bryce Young, feels bad for that kid. CJ Stroud outperforming him. But yeah, low key, fuck CJ Stroud just because he went to Ohio State. Yeah, fight me all you want. But another guy in this conversation, which obviously, as you folks at home know, I picked MVP, Josh Allen. Really, really rough start for him and the Bills. Bills are 5-4 now, and I'm not sure Josh Allen's stats off the top of my head, but I'm assuming they're not good. I'm gonna look at them now because I'm genuinely curious. But okay, Josh Allen, 2,400 yards, 18 touchdowns through the air, and 9 picks. So obviously the first week, I think he threw 3 picks all to the same dude, Jordan Whitehead, Pitt legend. And then yeah, he's just been kind of dealing. I mean, he had, I think, what did I see on Instagram today? He's had an interception in 5 straight games, and I think he's done that maybe a couple times in his career. I could be wrong though. I mean, he's only been in the league 5 years, 6 years, something like that. So to see that from your quarterback when you thought that this was supposed to be the year that they finally get over to the hump. Obviously, we have 13 seconds with Mahomes in the overtime, and then obviously Joe Burrow and them beating the Bills in the playoffs. I think that was last year. So, I mean, I don't even know. I feel like the Bills, their offense is actually the problem holding them back this year. And I don't know if you can put Josh Allen in that conversation. Well, not what am I trying to say? Josh Allen's MVP caliber, without a doubt, absolutely. I'm not saying he's not. What I'm saying is that the Bills, with a shitty... If we can put CJ Stroud at 4-4, who is maybe arguably having as good, if not a better, individual season than Josh Allen, might be a hot take there. I don't know. Fight me on. I don't give a rat's ass. Regardless, obviously 2 players who are having good individual seasons, I would say. The counting stats for Josh Allen look good, although the on-field play doesn't look amazing. But CJ Stroud on the field, like you watch him and you're like, yeah, this guy's legit. So, but 5-4, 4-4, obviously, I think both second in their division. I want to say, what's the difference there? I don't know, because the Bills are supposed to be contenders, and the Texans are coming off. Well, not coming. They're in the process of a deep rebuild, and yeah, I don't really understand the difference between either of those guys right now. I'm sure next week when the Bills play whoever it is they play. Let's see, they play the Broncos, and when the Texans play God knows who, they play the Bengals. When Joe Burrow throws for 400 against the Texans' soft, porous defense, and the Bills finally get their shit together against a shitty Broncos team, I'm sure this narrative will flip. I'm sure Josh Allen will be right back in the conversation. And that's the thing with this year's conversation. It's just, like I've said earlier, it's just so, it's not clear-cut at all. Usually, I feel like, by the trade deadline, by this part of the season, because, 2019 is a great example. Lamar was clear-cut the whole year. I mean, that Lamar in 2019 was something to behold. And then, who was after Lamar? Oh my God, this is gonna bother me, because 2021 and 2022, or was it 2020 and 2021 were Aaron Rodgers, and then 2022 was Patrick Mahomes, and then 2023 is obviously this year. I think I might have that wrong. I don't know. I probably sound like such an idiot right now, but I don't care. I'm gonna kind kind of blab and talk here as I look up the last 5 NFL MVPs. So yeah, Lamar, clear-cut guy. So you have Lamar, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Okay, I was right. Thank fucking God. Yeah. I feel like we could tell with all these guys. Like last year, I thought Mahomes. Like I was like, this is Mahomes' year. Gonna take it home, and obviously they won the Super Bowl last year, so good for them. And then the past 2 years with Aaron Rodgers, I feel like that is crazy how bad Green Bay is now, and how like Devontae Adams had like. He got however many targets last week, and I feel like he finished with maybe 50 yards or something like that. So it's kind of crazy to see how that duo's flipped around. One has psychedelics pumped through his veins, the other one just doesn't get the football, I guess. And then, you got Lamar. Just running all over the place. I don't know. I feel like there's not much more to blab about. Like, I think I've made my point in saying that we don't know who the MVP is yet. I feel like recency bias shouldn't dictate people's opinions, and I think we should wait further to figure out who the real MVP is. Because we've talked about the stats with the top three, which the top three, in my opinion, is 100% Lamar, Hurts, and Mahomes. Even I don't even know. Maybe not Mahomes. I feel like honestly, I'd rather throw, AJ Brown or McCaffrey in there in my top three personally, because I feel like they bring I don't know. It's tough to say, because with the value and the stretch that AJ Brown is having this year is historic, and it is honestly we should all hold it as NFL fans. And yeah, I mean I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean it really is tough to say, but I feel like Lamar and Hurts should definitely be in that conversation. Tua, I mean, he's obviously leading the league with passer rating, leading the league in passing yards. I mean, he's got a shit ton of touchdowns. But the Dolphins are, in my opinion, frauds. Not frauds. Obviously, 6-3 record, it speaks for itself. But they haven't beat a team with a winning record yet. So I feel like the fraudulent tag is floating around Miami as we speak. And, yeah, Tua, in my opinion, shouldn't be in the conversation right now. As much as I love Trevor Lawrence, shouldn't be in the conversation right now. Josh Allen shouldn't be in the conversation right now. Brock Purdy, no. But I think we should maybe throw Tyreek and A.J. Brown in there. Because Tyreek, obviously, him and A.J. Brown are neck and neck. And he's having just as historic of a season as A.J. is. I guess not really, because A.J. has been extremely, extremely consistent. And Tyreek has been kind of off and on. I mean, last week against the Chiefs, he had, 30 yards in that fumble, and he just didn't play well at all. But, still, what he's doing at wide receiver for his team is crazy, and I think he could be in the conversation more so than his quarterback. Even though at the beginning of the episode I did say, does Tyreek make the case for Tua stronger? Which I think you could say no, because it's the most valuable player, not most valuable teammate or whatever, if that makes any sense. But yeah, regardless, Hurts, Lamar, Mahomes, or any of the wide receivers that we just talked about, McCaffrey, maybe if 49ers record was if they didn't drop that stupid game to the Browns, if they didn't play like shit against the past couple, because they lost to the Browns. God, I really should check these things before I get on the show and start talking. But they just lost to the Bengals and the Vikings. Yeah, they shouldn't have lost to the Vikings. Let's be real. No Jay Jettas, even though I think Kirk Cousins played stellar that game, if I'm remembering correctly. And the Bengals game, yeah, they just Purdy played awful. So there's not much you can do there, as if you're McCaffrey. Because he still put up great numbers, and it's kind of remarkable to see what he's doing at running back as well. I feel like even though Debo is kind of the athlete position for them, I think it's more Christian McCaffrey, because you could literally throw that dude on any position on offense besides the line and he'd be effective. So, I mean, is that an MVP? someone who can do everything. I mean, because Cordell Patterson obviously does everything for doesn't really do anything for the Falcons because he gets no playing time, but still, I digress. You see my point of what I'm trying to say. A lot of candidates. It's a very tight race. If I had to pick, I would say Hurts is the leader. I mean, he has better stats than Lamar, and they have one game ahead of them. And I feel like last week's performance, even though I said recency bias, I feel like he kind of edged out Lamar as far as performance-wise last week. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell. But regardless, enough of MVP talk. Let's talk. I don't know what route I want to go here. I really want to hit on the Jets as just as the Jets. Obviously, lost on Monday Night Football horrendously. Had a hockey game that day, so I could only watch the second half. But what I saw from the Jets offense was pitiful, honestly. I mean, where do you put the blame? I feel like the blame should be distributed throughout the whole offense and staff. I feel like the offensive line was not there for Zach Wilson. Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, and Tyler Conklin couldn't catch the football worth shit. I mean, I don't really remember off the top of my head any of poor throws Zach Wilson made. I mean, he completed 33 passes out of 49, which is, I mean, not saying that's good or whatever, but I think he outperformed Justin Herbert, who didn't really have a stellar night either. And he's been kind of having a down year too, which kind of sucks. I'm obviously a big fan of him, but still, yeah. I mean, what is wrong with them? I don't know. I mean, Breece Hall didn't have that many yards because the line couldn't block worth shit. I mean, was it just a bad offensive line night? Is the problem with Zach Wilson? Because maybe, I mean, is he not a leader? I mean, I feel like he's shown ample capability to lead an offense. I mean, you just saw last week against the Giants. I mean, not saying he's a stellar quarterback or anything, but I mean, I think he's capable, and I think he is. You can see in the media. I think this year, better than his past years, he's become a better. He's been better in the media. I think he's become a better locker room presence. And I feel like might be a guy that they should rally behind, because Robert Saleh, obviously definitely more defensive minded, being a coordinator from San Fran, and obviously the Jets defense played really well. I mean, they had 4 sacks or whatever, but still, I mean, their offense couldn't get the job done, and especially when you play the Chargers, who aren't that good of a defense. They haven't been able to stop the run. And, I mean, obviously the pass, if you're letting Zach Wilson throw for 260 against you, I feel like you're having some sort of problem on defense. But still, they couldn't find the fucking end zone for whatever reason. So, the Jets continue to have problems. Where do they look? I'm really a big fan of Zach Wilson. A lot of my friends know I've been a big advocate for him over his NFL career, which hasn't been stellar by any means. But, there's flashes of potential there, which, with being a Zach Wilson guy, you gotta kind of grasp at straws. But I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is apparently coming back in a few weeks, according to him. And, people always are like, oh my God, look at Aaron Rodgers sling the football just 59 days after his injury. What does this have to do with your fucking Achilles? Just wanted to say that real quick. What are we doing? But, yeah. What are the Jets' problems on offense? The line is definitely a big problem because that offensive line is so injured, and I don't know. Obviously, not a great night for your receivers. Alan Lazard really, I think, was the main offender of that whole fiasco. One play that really stuck out to me, Zach Wilson dropped back, play action, line broke down, He shakes Khalil Mack out of his shoes and looks and flings it to a wide open C.J. Uzomah. Instead of C.J. Uzomah catching the football like this, he reaches out for a circus catch and he drops it, and then he looks like an idiot. Makes Zach Wilson look like an idiot, and makes the coordinator look like an idiot. But where does the blame lie? Probably on the offensive line who let a play action play break down in the first place. But yeah, the blame on the Jets. For me right now, offensive line, and I feel like Garrett Wilson, and I feel like they won't have that bad of a night again. I don't think so. So now let's transition into a little bit. We'll talk a little bit of soccer because soccer has been very exciting for me recently. So obviously, I'm a big Messi guy. Messi won his 8th Ballon d'Or the other day. In my opinion, fully deserved. I'm not saying Haaland didn't deserve it. Not saying that Haaland is not good. Not saying that this or that. I'm saying Messi deserved it. If we're giving Modric the Ballon d'Or for leading Croatia to a second place finish, why not give the player of the tournament and someone who won a domestic trophy and a league trophy while having 53 goal contributions and however many games. I feel like the stats support it. I feel like his trophies support it. I don't know, when you win the World Cup, I mean, like, I hate soccer fandom more than anything because it's frustrating because it's like, oh, Haaland wins a treble and then this doesn't matter, but if Messi wins a World Cup and it's all over the place. And I find it so incredibly irritating. And, Messi won the World Cup and got player of the tournament. And he won League and won the French, whatever that stupid fucking trophy is called. Regardless, doesn't matter. He won that lowest sportsman award. He won the FIFA the best. He won and had good stats. He had plenty of reason as to why he should have won it. And the fact that people are discrediting him just because, he's FIFA's boy. What the I don't know. It's such a dumb argument. I'm not saying, Haaland could have got it just as easily. I mean, Haaland doesn't do it on international stage like Messi does. And obviously, he shattered a bunch of records in the Premier League, which is the toughest league in the world. They won the Premier League. They won the fucking Carabao Cup or whatever cup it was. I don't even remember at this point. It's actually gonna bother me, but regardless, I think it was an Emirates Cup or some stupid shit like that. Obviously, they won the Champions League, which against my favorite team. We'll be back though, Rollins here and all that stuff. But yeah, Ballon d'Or race, obviously, and I also have Mbappe in there, Mbappe's a fantastic player, and I really hope he wins one in the future. I like him, even though he's kind of with the money, and I think he's staying with PSG for a little too long, overstaying his welcome perhaps, and yeah. But the Ballon d'Or race, I feel like is a stupid the fact that people try to discredit Messi for being as great as he is so stupid. Haaland is 23, 22 years old. He will win one or two, I'm sure. As far as next year, obviously Jude Bellingham looks like the runaway. Obviously Haaland still having a good year. Mbappe having a good year. But obviously Antoine Griezmann, one of my favorite players, had 2 today against Celtic, which we'll get into that Champions League slate here in a minute. But yeah, really, really excited as a Griezmann fan to just see his revival after being kind of a flop at Barca, which I don't think he was. I think he was just fine. I think that he played fine at Barca, even though he was a little bit, didn't hit the price tag as, I don't think he played. What am I trying to say here? I don't think he played as he got paid for. If that makes any sense, you guys know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, Griezmann having a great season so far. I think he's up to 11 goals now, and Atleti is 3rd in La Liga, and they should move on to the last 16 in the Champions League. So that's awesome there. But yeah, Ballon d'Or stuff. Messi deserved it. Haaland also deserved it. But I think if you win the World Cup and you are the best player on your team, you have the most goals. Shut up. Like, Ronaldo, I'm just like, who cares if Ronaldo didn't win it? We all know Messi's better. Now, let's talk a little bit of this Champions League slate, which I think it was an exciting day, to say the least. Actually, before I talk about that, let's talk about this Chelsea game. How about Nicholas Jackson with that hat trick? Obviously, all were kind of tap-ins, which, I mean, it was weird. Tautin goes up early, and then they get this. I don't remember if the red was before or after. I think it was because of this pen from this dude Palmer. But yeah, I watched this game. It was cool to see this kid, Nicholas Jackson. He's 22 years old, and he gets a hat trick before Marcus Rashford, which is a United fan that hurts. But it was good for them. That was a crazy game. Chelsea, are they starting to find form? I don't know. They're 10th in the league with 15 points. So we'll see what they can do here. Now on the Champions League slate. I mean, Porto won. Pepe had a goal and officially is the oldest player to score in the Champions League. So good for him. Barca surprisingly lost to Shakhtar. I don't even want to say the other part because I don't know how to say it. But yeah, that is very surprising. And the guy who scored for Shakhtar hit the Bellingham, which I thought was really funny. But, sucks for Barca fans. I mean, that's terrible. Man City taking down Young Boys 3-0, and Haaland had a double that game, so good for him. But this Group F, Dortmund Newcastle 2-0, and Milan PSG 2-1. I think these were definitely the best games of the day here. This group was at the beginning of the day, you didn't know, because obviously Milan was in last. I think Dortmund was in third, and then PSG Newcastle were first and second. But I think this group is one of the most fun that I've seen in a little bit, and I'm just, I don't know who's going to go through on this one. With Milan taking 3 points from PSG, maybe does that put them back in the race and maybe make it? Or, Europa League could be in their future. We don't really know. But just wanted to hit on that real quick. And Atleti and took down Celtics 6-0 today with 2 goals from Griezmann. So that's it's pretty, I'll defend Griezmann by that. So that's a little bit of soccer talk. Tomorrow with another big Champions League slate. Man United, my Man United take on FC Copenhagen, and Inter Milan take on Salzburg. So, just updating you guys on my teams, even though, I'm sure one person who watches this podcast has to be a fan of either of those teams that like soccer. So, if you're out there, go you. Now, to wrap this episode up, relatively short one, 30 minutes. I'm surprised I got this far, but we will talk a little bit of hoops. Obviously today, no games because it's election day, and obviously NBA, big advocates for voting and stuff like that. So, we'll talk a little bit of Victor Wembanyama, which is obviously always the topic of conversation. Last game, I guess the Pacers did do so hot, but, it is it is crazy how fast he's acclimated to the league, and I'm just beyond, I'm nervous. As a guy with whose team's in the West, I'm scared to see what this guy's gonna do to my team for the next fucking 10, 15 years. But yeah, 38 points and 10 against Phoenix, against one of his idols, Kevin Durant. Obviously, very similar in looks wise. I don't think in play style they play similar at all. Well, you could see it, obviously, Wemby being more of a stretch and, all around guy, but I feel like he gets more to the basket more than KD does nowadays, because KD, when in his prime, he was obviously getting the basket, dunking on people like left, right, and center, and he obviously can get to his spots whenever he wanted to and just shoot it over anybody. But yeah, Wemby, he can do all that, I suppose, just not as good, but, I'm kind of just blabbing. I'm low-key kind of tired, I feel like shit, but I will always be here to talk basketball and talk Vic. But yeah, this kid, he's a star. I saw a thing today about Wemby. He is the third best player under 25, and it was a 10-player list, which I'm riding the Wemby high. Let's be real. I think he's good. All-star, maybe this year, maybe. I mean, it's obviously we're 7 games into the new season, so we can't get too greedy now. That's something you can't do. And but yeah, he's been great. Obviously, on the defensive end, he brings everything and more that you want as a coach and as a fan to watch him. And but on the offensive end, what he does is it's wild. To see what he does. I mean, he's putting it between people's legs. He's shooting mid ranges. Doing post hooks. Has great footwork at 7'3" or 4", however tall he is. And to see how great he has started out in the NBA is honestly, it's kind of bewildering. But for the people who were hating on him, I really think you should seriously reconsider, because I think the kid's legit. Now to talk a guy who I was extremely high on, and I think was the better twin, Asar Thompson is second in points. I think is second in points. Might be first in rebounds. Not first. Actually, might be a stretch. Okay, no, Wemby might be first, but regardless, the kid's averaging 12, 4, and 9 as a rookie on a very young Pistons team who is not flourishing. Obviously, they're 2 and 6, but the individual play from some of these players on Detroit is good. Obviously, Jalen Duren had a monster start to the season, and Cade Cunningham also going crazy. But we already knew Cade Cunningham. We already knew that he was gonna be bringing that shit for the season. But 20 years old, and this kid Asar Thompson. I mean, he's fantastic 2-way player, and I feel like he'll be a real threat for this league. And I think he'll have a big impact on these Pistons in the future. Maybe as a second option, which you might be able to call him that right now. I mean, looking at his game log, started out didn't really find the shot, didn't score a lot of points, but his impact on the other ends of the floor was good. He was grabbing 13 rebounds, 12 rebounds, 10 rebounds, for a game stretch. And he had back-to-back games with 4 steals against Phoenix and Golden State. So it's not like the guards he was guarding or the players he was guarding were slouches. So he's locking up some of the best players in the league, and he's still getting rebounds and providing getting assists, making plays for his teammates, and getting to the basket and scoring. So, and the athleticism, I think he's a fantastic athlete on a very athletic Pistons team. Obviously, young, spry, they can jump, they can shoot, they can do all this and that. But yeah, Asar, one hell of an athlete. I think, personally, I think he's better than Amen, but you can debate all you would like. And now just to look around the league a little bit, because that's just something we do over here to agree to disagree. The Mavericks having their best start to the season since 2012. Obviously Luka might be the MVP for one right now, maybe him or Jokic, but I think him because Luka's averaging 40 points per game right now, and the Mavericks doing really well. Kyrie hasn't really been able to find the scoring touch just yet, but it will come. We're 7 games in, like I've said, but the playmaking of Kyrie Irving this start to the season I think has been really good. Surprised to see how well he's working, not being the primary ball handler, how well he's working off the ball, being that playmaker. So I'm glad to see that as a Kyrie fan. Tim Hardaway Jr. set the really big for the Mavericks. He's averaging 18 points per game right now, and huge spark plug off their bench. And Derek Lively has been great as well. And in his first game, who did they play? The Spurs were their first game, and he obviously had 16 points or something. That was his career high ever in through collegiate, and not ever, but that was his highest points per game as a pro. So So yeah, Derek Lively has been a good piece for them. Obviously, really good on defense, and he's still grabbing the boards. I think that they've desperately needed. Has bring some much needed size to that team. And but I'm always like I like Luka, and obviously I've been a big fan of Kyrie since freaking 2012 or whatever, and well I mean more like 2016 because like I didn't really start watching basketball till like 2015 2016 because Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, they got me into hoops. Let's be real here, but obviously another team who's always in the media, the Lakers, struggling and missing the game-winning shot against the Heat the other night. I actually watched that one, but not watch that one. I watched the ending part of it because I was able to tune in and see into that, so that was pretty cool. But I mean, I feel like should the Lakers panic? No. They're 3-4. Obviously, AD, I think he hurt his groin against the Heat, so that kind of sucked. But yeah, if AD can stay healthy and you can get the consistent play out of D'Angelo Russell because he's been playing really well, step it up as that third member of their big three when you thought it was Austin Reeves, who has not found any sort of form that he was in the playoffs or anything like that from last season. So you really need him to step up big time, and you need D'Angelo Russell to keep playing how he's playing. Rui and like the rest of those guys, but Gabe Vincent and Cam Reddish, they have to definitely step up. Otherwise, yeah, this Lakers team won't be very good because those guys are critical pieces who they brought in. Well, no, more so Gabe Vincent than Cam Reddish, but you guys get what I'm saying. But Christian Wood, I thought, has been a very solid acquisition for them. Like I said when we talked about it the first time when the trade was announced, maybe it was a signing, trade, whatever. But Christian Wood, I think, has been very good at all the Lakers basketball I've watched this season, so that's good. And I'll wrap it up here with the Clippers. They put the next other night and got shellacked. Obviously, James Harden debut. James Harden, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 6 of 6 on 6 for 9 shooting. I mean, the shooting splits were good. The counting stats were good. Russell Westbrook obviously had 17, 4 and 4, and 8 for 13. So efficient Russell Westbrook basketball. I feel like you should be getting wins when Russell Westbrook is playing efficient basketball, but you don't because Paul George had 10 points. And Kawhi Leonard only had 18 points. He shot 50%, but like what happened? What really happened is that the defense let R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle combine for 50, and you let Mitchell Robinson grab 15 boards. Like that. When you look at that Clippers team on paper, you have obviously at the one you got Russ, then you got Harden, then you got PG, then you got Kawhi, and you got Zubats. Like, who, like that team in a 7-game series, like you should not want to see the Clippers in a 7-game series, right? Like, look at that team on paper. Not saying on the court, the on-court play has been fantastic. They have another chance today. On Wednesday, to knot that up. See if they can finally hopefully find a little bit of chemistry, try and build because they're 3-4, and I mean they need. I feel like they need to get a firm grip on the Western Conference early because with the struggling Grizzlies and the struggling Lakers so far, I feel like you need to kind of take advantage of how these teams are struggling and get on top of the table quick, and especially when you bring in James Harden, kind of a big deal, one of the best players of all time. And if you're not capitalizing, I mean, what are you really doing? So, good 45 minutes of talking. Yapped and yapped and yapped, but nonetheless, you might have stayed to listen to it all. So, I am, we're back. A2D is back. Don't know when I'll have the other guys on the show. But regardless, I will always be here to suit your sports needs and sweat out your bets. That might not have been needed, but regardless, This has been Agree to Disagree Sports Pod. Stay thirsty, my friends.